Namaskar friends. In the last video, we discussed the first four steps of the creation of this universe. Now there I explained by way of certain slides. In this video, I am going to give you first of all the basis of all those slides of first four steps. Then discuss the next steps in the creation of this universe as described in Srimad Bhagavad Purana. So we go to the verses. Kal dravya gunarasya tividha pratisankrama adhastu mehta sargo gurvaisham matmana dityastav hamo yat davya gyan kirodaya bhut sarg striti yastu tan matro davya shaktima. These two verses, these are describing the creation up to the physical matter. So here the first verse, second line says that the first creation is that of Mahatat, and its nature is the disparity in the Sattva Guna and other two qualities, and happens due to the inspiration of God Almighty. Okay. There we discuss that it is the interaction of Brahm, the three gunas, and the karma that creates Mahatat. Now the second verse says the second creation is that of Ahankara or the intelligence from which the earth, fire, gases, and liquids and space, the five elements, the senses of knowledge and the senses of action are created. The third creation is Bhutsar or the physical matter, in which the Matra work gives rise to the five great physical elements. That is the third step. You go to the next step, Chaturth Andriya Sargo Yasu Gyan Kriyatmaka Vaikariko De Sarga Panchamo Yanmayam Mana षष्ठस्तु संसार यस्तव बुद्धि कृता प्रभो शरी में प्राकृता सर्ग वैकृतानपि मे ऋणु. The fourth creation is that of senses, as we discussed in the last video. It is full of knowledge and action power. Remember, there were three kinds of intelligence that was created. One was the knowledge power, sattva. Second was action power, rajas. And the third was the tamas, which created the physical elements. Now, the fifth creation that this verse is saying is that of devtas born out of sattvic ego. And the creation of mind also comes under this creation. Now, first of all, the devtas. Who are the devtas? They are the controlling authorities who control the senses of all the living beings. So the fifth creation is the creation of devtas of only the senses, nothing else. There are other devtas also, but this creation is that of devtas, the controlling authorities of the senses only, including the mind. Okay. Now the second verse says the sixth creation is of ignorance. The friends, you will say that absence of knowledge is ignorance, but ancient Indian texts, they don't say that. Ignorance is also an entity. It is not absence of knowledge. Now we know why. The sixth creation is of ignorance. In this, Tamistra, Andh-Tamistra, Tam, Moh, and Mahamoh. These are the five knots, and they cover and reflect the intelligence in living beings. So, ignorance is not absence of knowledge. This is another entity which covers the intelligence of living beings and reflects them. We'll come to the details of these later. And these are the six natural creations up till now. Okay. The next two verses Rajo Bhajo Bhagavato Lilayam Harimedhasa Saptamo Mukhya Sargastu Shalvidhastu Stusham Chaya Vanaspati Lata Stavaksara Virudhodama Utastotsastama Praya Antasparsha Visheshana. The first verse, first of all, says, the God who takes away all the sorrows of those who meditate upon Him, who go for the dhyan of Bhagavan. This entire perception has been created by Sri Hari, Bhagavan Krishna. He is the one who creates the world by accepting Rajoguna and taking the form of Brahma. After the six types of natural creations, the seventh Vakrit creation is made up of these six types of immovable plants and vegetation. Now, friends, the ancient Indian texts, they are not like modern scientific documents. They intertwine all the spiritual knowledge as well as the scientific knowledge as well as any other knowledge into the verses and explain them as a whole so that a person gets to understand the whole of it. In today's times, all the knowledge has been divided into various sections. This is that knowledge, this is engineering knowledge, this medical knowledge, this is pharmaceuticals, this is psychology. Now, in ancient Indian texts, all these knowledges are there, but they are intertwined. So, here, one very important thing that the first verse says is that those who meditate upon, those who dhyan, those who perform dhyan of Bhagavan, the Supreme God Almighty Bhagavan Krishna, He takes away all their sorrows. This is very important and it is a reality. And then the verse says that the sixth creation is that of all the vegetation. Okay. So, first of all, physical matter is created, senses are created, and then the vegetation is first of all created on earth, which is extremely logical. Before any of the animals or birds or insects or humans, they come on earth, first of all it is the vegetation created, which is extremely logical because without the vegetation there can't be any food, there can't be any fresh air. So it is the sixth creation is that of vegetation. And the vegetation has been categorized into several categories, which includes Vanaspati, Aushadhi, Lata, Taksar, Virudh, or Dhrum. And how this vegetation is described, these grow from below upwards. The power of knowledge is generally not visible in them, and they experience only the sense of touch within them. But each of these vegetation is enrolled with a special quality. Okay. Just note this is very important that the vegetation has only the sense of touch out of the five senses that we discussed in the previous video. Now, how is Vanaspati described? Vanaspati is that which bears fruit without flowering, like banyan tree and peepal tree, etc. Aushadhi is that which gets destroyed when fruits ripen. Okay, the plants which get destroyed when they ripen, they are called aushadhi. These include paddy, wheat, gram, etc. Lata. Lata is that which grows by taking some shelter, which takes help of some kind of shelter, such as a tree or something. These are like Brahmi and Giloy. These are the examples. Taksara. Taksara are those plants whose bark is very hard, such as bamboo. Virud. Virud are the creepers which spread on earth, but due to being producing large sized fruits, they do not climb upwards, such as melon or watermelon, etc. Drum. What are drum? Drum are those vegetations in which flowers appear first and then in place of flowers, fruits appear, such as mango, blackberries, pomegranate, guava, etc. So these are categories. This is how the vegetation has been categorized in ancient Indian texts. We go to the eighth creation. तिरश्चामष्टम सर्गा स्वाष्टा विंश दुधो मता अवीदो भूरितमसो घ्राणज्ञ हृदवेदिना. The eighth creation is that of Pyrgiones, or the lower species of insects, birds, and animals. And these have been described in 28 categories. And what is described about them is that these living being species do not understand time the way we are able to precisely keep the time. These species they cannot keep the time. They don't have the concept of time. They have broad concept of time such as morning, evening, all that is okay. But as such, they cannot measure time or they cannot, for example, know how long they are going to live or how many days or how many years of their life have passed and so on. And due to excess of tamogun, they only understand about eating, drinking, sex, and sleeping. So, friends, this is a major difference between humans and all these lower species of birds, insects, and animals. The modern science says that humans are just another species of animals, but it is not. Humans are a species entirely different from these lower form of Thyreogonis as they have been described. And these Thyreogonis, they get knowledge about subjects by just smelling them. And they also do not have much of thinking power as also foresight. Thinking power means that they cannot think in some kind of depth. Okay, a little bit they can all think, but in depth they cannot think. We can discuss about this a lot, but broadly it is this. And they don't have foresight. For example, you see a buffalo or a cow standing on the road. So they don't have the foresight that okay, vehicles are going to come and they may strike us, so we should not stand on the road. No, they don't have such kind of foresight. This is the primary difference between animals, birds, and humans. In this video, we'll limit up to this, and in the next video, we'll discuss further on animal species only.